Well, we are back and we're talking about what is deschooling. We're talking about deschooling now. For you new homeschoolers, you may not have heard that term yet, but as you join Facebook groups, you're going to hear it. Um, they will include it in how, like you'll say, how do I start homeschooling? And they will tell you to deschool. But when they get to the nitty gritty of it, it's usually crickets because you hear the same thing every time. No one really ever dives into it. Some of what I will say will be my personal opinion, but it's pretty solid from what I've seen over the years. Okay, so let's start with what is deschooling? Deschooling is the adjustment phase when you leave a public school or private school. Every one of you will have this, even if you're doing public school at home, you're going to deal with this process. It's pretty much an adjustment phase. It's where you are adjusting to a new lifestyle. Learning at home is a new lifestyle. That's just how it is. It's a little bit different. It's a different mindset. And I have found that even with my own children who never attended public school, I have to deschool. So anyway, we're going to talk about this a little bit. Okay, so what do I think of when I say deschooling? It's an adjustment phase. It is basically a time of reconnecting and healing, especially if you're pulling your children out for issues such as, let's see, through the years, bullying, depression, um, learning issues. These are going to be a time of healing where you're in. Also, it's a time of reconnecting. When you send your children to public school every day, all day, you have I feel like I don't take this as criticism. I don't mean it as criticism, but you have less time to connect. So you think of this as your time to adjust and your time to reconnect and your time to heal. It will look different for every family, no matter who you are, it's going to look different. Every family is different. You have a different situation. You have different time lengths. You have just different everything. So it's going to look different. Now, most of the time, people will tell you that when you're deschooling, you are not doing any school. That is not necessarily true. You might do things that do not look like traditional school. You might, let's see, I'm getting ahead of myself. So when they talk about the process, they'll usually tell you this is something else you'll hear. You'll hear 1 month times each year they're in school. So if your child is a 12th grader, that's like 13 months. Now, is it actually feasible that you not do school for 13 months when they're a senior? No, that's not going to be feasible. Is it feasible when they're in high school? No. So I think it's better to think of it as an adjustment phase and not as a period of time where you're not doing school. Now, you could possibly need to not do school, and that's okay. Every situation is going to be different. If you're dealing, think of this as not just an adjustment phase, but think of this as your time to find any diagnosis that there could possibly be, like if your children have not been diagnosed with learning disabilities, this is your time period to find what you need to, what you're dealing with. If you don't already have a diagnosis, you're going to need to look for a diagnosis. So like I said, it's going to look different for every family. What one family does, another family may do differently. I have talked with some families where they had disabilities. I said, okay, let's work on finding out the diagnosis so that you can pick a good curriculum. What are some of the things you can do if you decide that it's in your best interest to not do traditional schooling or not find curriculum? You find the diagnosis. If there's bullying issues or depression issues, you're finding someone to work with them if they don't have someone already. You are finding just whatever you need to find. Let me move these down because I have a lot of movement in my room right now, and it's kind of throwing me off. Sorry. So anyway, so you're going to take this adjustment period to find out what you need to move your child from point A to point B. So even though they might not be doing a traditional curriculum, mama is working. So you're finding out whatever their diagnosis is, if they need any mental health appointments, then you're looking at curriculum to see what is good, what is a good fit. What are some things you can do while you're in this phase? I mean, if you've got a high schooler, you may need to pick up curriculum. And see, that's why, like I said, every family's going to be different. If you have questions, throw them in the comments. I'll see them. Some of the things you can do while you're waiting and you're in this adjustment period, you can do learning games. There are lots of math games, lots of games out there that involve math. You can do learning games. You can do read alouds. You can do reading for fun. You can do field trips, extracurricular classes. So, although I'm not a fan of doing absolutely nothing, these are acceptable things to do. So I had a couple of people jump on a little bit later. So, we're talking about deschooling. It's something that you will hear in every group that you get in. They will tell you that you need to deschool, but the problem is they're going to tell you that you do not have to do anything at all. And they will tell you that it will be 1 month times each year in school. That I consider deschooling an adjustment phase. It's going to look different for every family. There's no right or wrong with it because it's an adjustment phase. It's like if you have a ninth grader, you're looking at 10 months of an adjustment phase for you and them. I find with me, my children do not deal with this. They've never been in public or private school, but I deal with this because I was in public school. And there will be times that if I'm under stress, I start trying to pick up a traditional looking curriculum that does not work for my kids, but it works for me. And that's not bad. When you're picking curriculum out, you need to make sure that it's make sure they're complementing your style and their style, complement each other so that you're both not burnt out. So anyway, this is a time of reconnection, a time of healing, and you can pick up the things that you would work on when you first start homeschooling, it would be getting an IEP. Well, you won't get an IEP if you're not in the school system. You probably won't. If you have that, you need a copy of it. Finding people to provide those services. If some states will provide services to homeschoolers, some are a little bit more iffy. You just have to look in that and find someone who has more experience than I do. But so what you'll do is you're finding these services. Many homeschoolers don't want to use the public school system services simply because of the time frame, and if your insurance can pick it up, they'll go and do that. Some of the things you can do, let's see, learning games. There are lots of math games. There's a group called Game Schooling. Game Schooling with My Little Poppies is absolutely excellent on asking any subject you could possibly want a game for, and you will get like way huge huge information overload from them. There are read alouds. Sunlight Curriculum has awesome book lists to read that you can go and find great books. I like books on tape. I mean, my kids can listen to them and then do stuff with Legos while they're listening. Field trips, there are great field trip groups out there. You can usually find one locally. There's one I'm going to talk about later today that she's kind of branching into some virtual stuff, so that she's a good option for the fall if things are not out there. And then extracurricular classes, there's stuff online, there's stuff in person. Most museums have stuff, but we're going to talk about extracurricular this afternoon. But anyway, so this is what my deschooling is about, basically explaining, because you will hear it in the groups. If you have questions, you can put them under the comments as the day goes on. I will be back at 2 on, it'll be socialization and extracurricular opportunities. I think my son is asleep on the bed over there. But anyway, so that's what we're doing. Let me know if you have questions. We can talk about it. And I will see y'all later.